I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Charlene. Welcome to Empowered, Life Lessons of Everyday Women.
Each episode, you're going to meet an amazing woman who has struggled through challenges both in her home life and work life and has become very successful. Meet Chris. Don't take life too seriously. Chris has had a remarkable career in the New York Police Department for over 25 years. She rose to the rank of First Deputy Police Commissioner. This is amazing in and of itself, but as the first African-American woman to achieve that position, it is truly inspiring. So grab a cup of coffee, get in a comfy chair, and join us as we talk to Chris. Welcome, Chris. We're so happy you could join us today. I am really excited to talk to you. So based on your experience, if you were to go back and give some advice to your 20-year-old self, what would that be?
First of all, thanks for having me. This is going to be a pleasure, I believe. I would have to say probably to my 20-year-old self not to take life so seriously and try to make the most out of each day, even the little things. As a young person, tended not to do that. So that would probably be the main thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think a lot of us do take life too seriously, so we don't step back and smell the roses too much.
I'll tell you, because one day you're going to wake up and be 64 years old and wonder, how did I get here?
Exactly.
That's true.
So to our listeners, one of the things that I wanted to ask you is what made you decide to become a police officer as a career?
My father.
Oh.
Was he in law enforcement as well?
No, far from it.
Oh.
I was in college, majoring in criminal justice, which my father thought was absolutely ridiculous. He thought I should be a nurse. And at the time, I was a freshman in college, and I was pretty much majoring in partying and not so much criminal justice. And he kind of knew that. So he had a acquaintance who was a police officer and found out that there was an exam being given. And my father literally made me take the exam.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Very different than just so my listeners can understand, that was my chosen career when I was in high school. I wanted to be a police officer. I don't know why. My parents were in education, but I think because of the way that I worked with people and kind of my awareness and my sort of do good thing, that was what I was going to do in college. I chose a different path, and we'll talk a little bit about why I did that. But yeah, definitely a difficult time to get into law enforcement.
Right. So your father wanted you to take the exam. You did it. Obviously, you passed. So
I did quite well. I did quite well. I went into the auditorium. There had to be 400 people in the auditorium taking the exam. I'm like, yeah, this is a waste of time. And I took it. I was actually 19 years old at the time I took the exam. And I got called in for the first class off of that list. I scored like a 96 or something like that. I scored very well. And things happened fast. And I was offered a seat in the basic academy in 1981, August of 1981.
Wow.
What are some of the challenges that you faced when you first joined the police force?
Oh my gosh. First of all, it was 1981. So back in those days, females on patrol and policing was still, quite an experiment. The difficulties I had were male counterparts wanting to drive with a female officer.
Oh.
There were only like a handful of females in patrol at the time when I joined the department.
Why didn't they want to ride with a female? Was it because they didn't feel like they were going to have the support?
Exactly.
I think I can answer that one too, because it's why I didn't become a police officer. I found going through my college experience, and this is a crazy example, but I found that there were so many issues with being a female in a solo man's career or place, even in college. And because I happened to go to UC Berkeley, which you would think would be like really, liberal and open and everything, but funding was getting taken away from certain areas. And because the funding was taken away, it was because they were not allowing women into those particular areas of school, and the men were mad.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of shaped my decision not to pursue going into law enforcement.
And I didn't know what I was getting into personally. I had really no idea. I just know my dad told me to take this exam. I did, and everything happened really fast. Before I knew it, I was in the police academy, graduated, and right around it.
That's
Crazy story. It really is crazy because most people, choose to do that as a career, or they know they want to do, you always knew you wanted to be a firefighter and you go into firefighting. But
So wait, but you said that your dad wanted you to be a nurse. So did it kind of backfire on him?
He wanted me to have a job, is what.
Because we were partying.
He knew I wasn't doing good in college. I was supposed to be taking criminal justice, and I was majoring in partying. And
I got it.
Yeah. So he wanted to straighten you out, and you know what?
It did.
Not so unlike going into a military career, really. I mean, that's what happens is you get that discipline and order, and you have to either rise to the occasion or you don't.
You had said that there were men that did not necessarily want to ride with you on patrol. Over time, did you eventually prove to them that you were going to have their back?
Yes. And every female had to do that on an individual basis. So that was my experience. So I just tried to be the best that I could be.
Do you think you even had to be better than you had to be? Because I think the distrust, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, about feeling like you were capable, if that makes sense.
No, I really didn't feel that way until I started promoting in the department. When I became like a lieutenant and a captain, that's when I really felt as though people were just waiting for me to fall on my face.
Oh, interesting. So how did you empower yourself to be able to go after those higher careers, those higher positions?
I studied hard for the promotional exams. They were written exams. I excelled in the examinations. As for a lieutenant position, there probably was 80 or 90 people who took the exam. I was number 7 on the list. And back in those days, I guess today they call it DEI. Back in those days, it was like quotas. And in my department, quotas had nothing to do with your promotion. It was just based solely on your mark on the list. So that's when I started getting more respect, because that's when people understood that she took the exam, she did really well.
She would have gotten in regardless of meeting the quota.
Exactly. She's competent. Exactly. But there's still people who are waiting to see me fall on my face. But that made me all the more attitude to make sure that I excelled in my position, because I knew the eyes were on me. And I was the first female in the history of my department to have a command at the patrol level. I was the first female in the history of the department to be a chief of patrol, where I commanded the entire patrol division.
Wow.
And eventually, my last 8 years on the job, I was second in command of the entire department. So.
Wow.
That brings up a whole lot of questions for me.
Before we go on, I have another question, because I was thinking about this. So you saw changes over time in how the female was accepted, or how things change, because I saw that too in my life. Speak to that a little bit about how the opportunities changed. You kind of led the way, but did you see that change happen for women that followed after you?
Oh my gosh. When I was first approached by Rebecca to do the podcast, my conversation with her, I said, how current is my career path? How current is that? Is it not current? Because today, I'm going back 40 years now. I've been retired for 20 years.
Okay.
Now, today, you have females who are leading major police departments in the country. That was unheard of.
Yeah.
When I first came on the job. So
yeah, I feel like
being competent, you have to be competent. You have got to be competent.
I think you have to be extra competent.
Extra competent, yes.
Yeah, you have to be confident in your abilities. You have to be able to promote your abilities so that people can see it. But I still think, it's not unheard of for women to get into those positions. Wouldn't say that it's common. I think there's still especially police officers, military, etc. It's really male dominated, because a lot of people don't think of women in those roles, even today.
And you obviously had to have some confidence in yourself and I was going to ask you, where did that confidence come from? Because you truly were navigating an area that had not been touched by other women.
I think primarily because I always looked at myself as a police officer, not as a female police officer, a police officer. And I made every effort throughout my entire career to comport myself in that manner. Like they have like Italian American associations, African American associations
Right.
on police departments and what have you. I refuse to get involved in that, as well as they had female police officer associations and departments and throughout the state and what have you. I always comported myself. I'm blue. I'm a police officer, and that's how I carried myself and comported myself.
I think that's really great.
Well, and I think that's so true in so many different areas. I mean, I know one of the questions that one of our listeners had is, how did you, I know some people call it schmoozing or what have you, but there's social aspects involved with a lot of jobs. Did you find yourself socializing with some of the other officers to try to...
I married one.
So the answer, I guess, is yes.
That's a whole other podcast there.
Yeah. I mean, to be able to give yourself or integrate yourself into a male-dominated field where you wanted to be seen as a police officer and equal to them, did you do much socializing after hours with people within your department or not?
I became friends with many people in the department. Many people. Had lots of friends. It's like a brotherhood or sisterhood, you want to call it. I call it brotherhood. It is a brotherhood. So people I worked with, I became very close to. Their families, knew their children, grandchildren. When I first became a lieutenant, I was only on the job for 5 years, and the commissioner told me that I was going to have to go to patrol if I wanted the position, accept the position, and it would be the first female in patrol in such a position. I said, I will. So what they did is they sent me to a precinct where the average age of the people that I would be supervising, they were probably most of them old enough to be my grandfather.
Oh my gosh.
Figure that out.
How difficult was that for you? Challenging, I'm sure.
I did my job,
Yeah.
and thankfully enough, I had some angels there at the precinct where I was assigned of fellow lieutenants who respected me. And I understand that they had a conversation with the people who I was supervising, that you have to respect her. She earned that badge, so you have to respect her.
So you had some little angels out there, some men that really understood.
Was there a little part of you that wondered if they were putting you in that position to fail, though? I mean,
of course, not a little part of me, a big part of me. A big part of me.
So how did you work through some of the frustrations or maybe disappointment that some of the people that were now working for you might have had? How did you, I know you said you had a few angels at your side, but there's obviously things that you would have done yourself to get that respect, earn that respect for the people that were older than you that were working under you.
I respected them. I respected them. I didn't go into that position as if I knew everything. Did not do it. I would ask for help, get their opinion on something, and try to reach them in that way. I didn't go in like a know-it-all. Never as a know-it-all. Never as a know-it-all.
Yeah.
So inclusion was part of your philosophy, as it were.
Exactly.
It's very smart.
Many of these folks also knew my husband, married a fellow on the police department. And I think people who knew him gave me a little bit of respect, maybe not a lot, but a little more than they would have otherwise.
So that was one of the things I was going to ask you as well, because I'm sure being in law enforcement and maybe even the shifts that you had to work, because maybe they weren't, straight days or whatever, how did that affect your personal life outside of your career in law enforcement? Because I know you said you made lots of friends within it was a brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever. Did you find that you had maybe not so much personal life outside of your career? Was it a career that was very heavily based on that's where your personal life came from?
Long story short, yes.
Okay.
Most of my friends were in the police department, and most of my life surrounded the police department. Like I said, my husband was a police officer as well, so they were my family. And that's one of the reasons why I chose home and work life. I chose not to have children.
Because you had a family.
That's something that I chose not to do, is to have children. And my job was my life. And I guess if there's one thing that I kind of regret, it's that. Although I don't regret anything, but if I had to do it all over again, the fact that the job for 24 years was my life.
I can understand that. So I am sure you had several situations where you were confronted by individuals that were either verbally or physically aggressive. Can you give us some tips on how to de-escalate situations? I mean, most of the people, our listeners, are not necessarily going to be in the same types of positions where you are, but learning how to de-escalate a situation would be really valuable. Do you have any tips?
You know what? Generally, no, because each situation is so different. It's so different. My career, I was very good at dealing with people who like had mental issues. I was able to talk them down very easily.
And what kind of quality? I mean, were you able to?
Guess it's just innate. I think it's just innate. I was able to reach them and, calm them down and get them to focus. I think focus.
Okay. All right. So you just de-escalated those situations by helping them refocus what they were upset about.
Right, exactly. As far as anything else, where you go into a situation where there's a domestic, for example, if you're going into a domestic, a lot of times we would just mention Judge Wapner. Say, we got to take this to Judge Wapner and try to make light of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Try to make more light of it. Try to talk them down from yelling and screaming at each other to try to make light of it, to get their attention again,
right.
Focused on.
Again, refocusing.
Right,
exactly.
Did you happen to have a mentor as you were going through your career?
Female-wise, no, not at all. Female, male, my husband, definitely. My husband.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, right? So you never even thought about that, huh?
No. Well, love my husband to death, but I'm not sure I'd have him as my mentor. So I'm glad for that. Did you ever mentor anybody else, male or female?
I am sure I have, yes. Yes.
But not formally?
Not formally, no. I just always try to be an example.
Well, that's...
During my career, and I've had many female officers over the years come to me for advice or to study for an exam, or if they have a certain situation that they were in, how to handle it.
Well, and
it's all informal.
And that is a mentor. So even if it was informal, that was very helpful for them.
Do you have any situations where you felt like one of your colleagues or your partners was not pulling their weight, but then took credit for that, where you were successful at something and then somebody else took credit within your situation? And how did you deal with that?
Can't say that I can ever recall that ever happened. It might have, and went right over my head.
Wow.
No.
I'm glad. That's awesome, because a lot of us have dealt with toxic.
Maybe more the corporate world. We deal with that all the time. So I ended up going into a career that ended up being more in a corporate situation, and so did Rebecca. So that's always a constant struggle. It's more of a verbal.
But actually, you know what? That makes sense, because the police force was your family, right? It was a brotherhood, and you're not going to throw your brothers or sisters under the bus, where in a corporate environment, you might be stepping over them to get to the top.
So I never thought about...
that's something you just didn't do.
Right. Well, you want somebody to have your back,
Exactly. You got it.
That's very interesting. I think that's also probably true of people that get in some military careers, especially being, in combat where you're protecting each other. You owe each other your lives.
Well, it's trust. Yeah. You have to have trust with whoever you're working with. And I never actually thought of it in that terms, from corporate life to military or police, but I guess
a benefit, I think, of working in your career, which I don't think many people would think about doing that, because the business world is so different in terms of how you interact. It's so much more socially interactions and what the steps you take and how you navigate your career. There's more, I'm not going to say thought, but it's just, you just did.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So you went through various levels within the police department. Where did you find the biggest challenge for you in working, I want to say, as you rose up? Was one area more difficult or more challenging than another? The deputy police commissioner, I mean, I can only imagine the differences that would have entailed.
For me, I think it was my first promotion to lieutenant and being a supervisor. And I was in that position for 7 years, and it did take me some time to grow into it. I'll readily admit that. So I would say at that position, and my initial position as a supervisor.
And I see that you got your master's in college. So you obviously graduated. Did you end up graduating in criminal justice? Is that what you... No.
I always take the path of least resistance. It has served me well, though, ladies. It has served me well. I received my master's of science degree in creative studies. And you might ask yourself, what is that? Basket weaving? No, it's not basket weaving. It's a based in psychology, and it deals with how people are creative, not whether they're creative or not, but how you are creative. And it deals a lot with developing new products and ideas. Also, it has a lot to do with different teaching methods, because not all children or even adults learn the same way.
Yes.
Some people might be very good at taking examinations. Other people might be better writing. Other people verbally. We learn differently.
So it gave you the opportunity to understand human nature. So that's one reason that I think the drive for me, and I ended up in creative, and I ended up in marketing and really dealing with how people would react to creative products that I would do, human factors.
Okay.
So kind of interesting that it's very similar, but I knew when I went to college, I said, I'm just going to get any old degree because I knew I just needed that piece of paper and would be more helpful for me to get a position in the police department. At that point, that was all I was seeing. And then, like I said, college kind of revamped me into thinking about what I was actually getting myself into in the long run. I also did not want children at the time. I have 2 boys now, but I didn't want children. I was very not focused on that. So kind of interesting parallels.
For sure.
Were you able to use those insights that you got from your master's in your career as a...
I did actually, because at one time when I served as captain on the police department while I was getting my master's degree, I was put in charge of community policing, new topic in the police department, community policing, getting the police back into the community, the community's the police of the community. And that dealt with a lot of changing the culture. You got to change the culture. It's just not, you can't come in and say, okay, we're going to do this today. You got to have a reason why you're doing it. So you want to try to change the culture. And with the community policing initiatives that I made an effort to undertake throughout the department, dealt with a lot of problem solving and involving the community and coming up with solutions to problems that were happening in particular communities.
Great. Can you go into that a little bit? I'm really curious of how you identified some of those cultural issues and some of the problems and how you brought people together to help change or make changes.
Well, it wasn't easy.
I'm sure it wasn't.
But you have to get the police officer to have a different focus, out there crime fighting instead of don't fight the community. You're not out there necessarily always crime fighting, but to keep yourself, to help build a community where you don't have certain problems in a community. You reach out to like a community through a block club or what have you. If they're having an issue with kids hanging out in front of a convenience store late at night, smoking and drinking, what can we do to keep you from having to come here 15 times during the night chasing these kids away?
Right, try to be proactive. And
so I was
exactly, how do you eradicate that problem? And working with the community can be quite helpful. No, it's just a matter of trying to change officers' perspectives too.
So you had to change
what their duties are.
The culture of the people you worked with, but also the culture of the people that you were trying to help. And I assume that you identified leaders, like you said, within clubs or within the churches or to listen. And
exactly.
That sounds fascinating. I probably could talk to you about that for a long time, but...
Another podcast.
Exactly. You might be on again. You never know, Chris.
So along the way, we always ask this question, but for us, it's the reason that we do this podcast. What is the biggest life lesson you'd say you've had, maybe multiple, and that you'd like to share with our listeners?
My biggest life, you know what it would be? It would be that to just trust God. God has been holding me up for 64 years. And it's only been in the last maybe 15 years or so that I actually realized that he's always been there for me.
Okay.
I just lean into my faith. I would say lean into your faith. Recognize it and lean into it if you're at that point. I don't mean to get religious or anything like that. It's just I have a personal relationship with God. And I've realized that he's brought me here and I just have to lean in on him.
Well, and I can understand that, especially from the career that you had, right? I mean, how many police officers leave their house and don't know if they're ever coming back, right? So
Exactly.
you have to, you can't just trust your brother, and it's really faith in a lot of other things. So I totally understand that.
Is there any other advice you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, and this is just a little funny thing. I was thinking about my 20-year-old self again.
Yeah.
One of the things I would tell my 20-year-old self, and I guess anybody listening to your podcast might walk away with laughing at this, but it would be to not spend a lot of money on clothes and shoes. One day you're going to wake up with a closet full of clothes and shoes that don't fit, nobody wants.
I love it.
I think at 20, the 20-year-old self, we're in a different mindset emotionally about what's important and what really matters. And I think really what you're saying is that those things didn't really matter, but at the time they felt very big.
Rewarding. It was like a reward for yourself, maybe.
There you go.
And I do think that today's people are changing about what's important to them. You see smaller houses for the younger people. You see maybe they want the latest and greatest technology thing, but they don't necessarily want a lot of things. They want the life experiences. And I think maybe there was a generation where those things might have been more. Rebecca's not agreeing with.
No, I'm not agreeing with you at all. I think there are pockets of individuals, I think from all walks of life. Some people find materialistic things more important than other people. Some people don't. They get more joy out of hiking than they do out of going shopping.
Even cultures too. Even within cultures, yeah.
Absolutely.
I lived overseas in Asia for a long time. There's a whole different perspective about things and money. But I think that's actually great advice. I would give myself the same advice, by the way.
Oh, Chris, it's been wonderful talking to you today. I really am happy that you joined us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Yeah. Unexpected pleasure. Something I didn't necessarily want to do at first, but I'm glad I did, ladies.
I am so glad.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
You have a good afternoon, ladies.
Thanks. You as well.
All righty. Okay. Bye-bye.
To our listeners, if you found this podcast helpful or have any questions, please let us know. You can send us an email at empoweredlifelessons@gmail.com, or you can visit our website at www.empoweredlifelessons.com, or you can find us on Facebook and other popular social media. And if you wish to share your life lessons with us, please contact us at our email, and we will put you up for consideration, because we are always looking for great insight, life lessons, and we really appreciate hearing from our listeners. In our next episode, meet Deb. With experience as a high school math teacher and school administrator, Deb has great insight dealing with dynamic relationships.